us.
Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government, a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today.
All right, there we go. No, all we hear is CPAC.
Welcome to the Battlefield Live. You're listening to Chris and Trey from We Are America Radio, Red State Talk Radio, Lantern's Buzz. And want to thank you for joining us today. We're actually at CPAC 2016, and we're having a blast.
We finally arrived.
We're finally arrived, and we can actually hear ourselves in our equipment.
Well, we've been able to hear ourselves the entire time. The problem is have
there.
you been able to hear us?
Easy there.
I'm not saying. Look, machinery is machinery. Technology is technology. It's our first trip to CPAC. You know, it's a little overwhelming.
Yes, it is.
I mean, there's a lot of incredible people. I mean, just think about this, dude. From the time we listened this morning to KT McFarland, she was talking about firsthand knowledge of Reagan. Then Levin gets up and gives a history lesson on Reagan. You know, these are not like people that read books about it.
Right. So I thought what was really interesting about Levin's speech is, first of all, he didn't come out and endorse anybody, right?
Well,
seriously.
He came as close as you can come without saying a name. I mean,
right.
He said things like, national populism has nothing to do with conservatism.
Right.
Make America Great Again was actually a Reagan slogan. He knows because he wore the button.
Right. But I think what was interesting is that he's speaking to the principles. He's not speaking to the personalities. Does that make sense?
There's no doubt. I mean, look, this is what, over the last 7 years, Chris, this is what you and I have tried to, through the groups like the Tea Party and through the show and through writing and stuff, we've tried to warn people not to get caught up in politicians or people or the politics of it and stay to the principles. And not just any principles.
Absolutely.
But conservative principles.
So, I guess, just walking around today has been pretty interesting. I saw Levin and Hannity in Levin's booth, and they were talking to a huge crowd in front of them. And, of course, we saw Beck earlier. And and who else was
we saw Dana. She spoke early this morning. We get to hear her speak, but we saw her run through the line.
Yeah. And then who comes on before Beck?
Doc and Skip.
Doc and Skip. They were live this morning, which was pretty cool.
Louis Gohmert ran by here a little while ago.
Right. Saw Louis what's his name? Man, my brain's kind of fried.
Saw
right now.
Sheriff Clark.
Right.
From what is that? Minnesota? No, from Michigan. He's like outside of Detroit, I think.
Yes. So I guess if you're a starstruck conservative, you would be enamored by the people that are here.
That's one of the most impressive looking individuals I've seen yet.
Yeah, I think he could probably drag me over and beat me with one punch. So, but as
a matter of fact, we're gonna go ahead and call him on over here. Seth Nichols. Seth, go ahead and grab those headsets right there. One of the absolute, this is a guy that just he's walking around here, and I've seen a couple of interviews earlier, but I'm just, if I really can't paint the visual, except that I can tell you I feel incredibly safer than I felt at any time during this particular event.
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, man. We want safety. Safety first.
There you go.
That's right. So Andrew Marr is Special Forces Green Beret and the CEO and founder of Warriors Angels Foundation. So we're going by this, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, all right,
yes, sir.
So Andrew,
you don't even want to know why and how.
No.
But we're in.
I'm not asking you. I'm not asking anything. So tell us a little bit about Andrew. Tell us a little bit about your background and about Warrior Angels Foundation.
Yeah, I was in Special Forces for just under 9 years. My specialty was being a Special Forces engineer, which had me working with explosives. And so I was explosive breacher. So what that means is we put surgical charges on denied points of entry, right? So again, in and around explosions for my entire career. I was only knocked out once, unconscious once in combat. And so what we know now, that repetitive head trauma over time is just very damning, right? And so I came home after my last deployment in 2013 and didn't start having any problems till about 6 months later. So I was an elite performer for a long time in difficult situations of life and death. And then I woke up one day to find myself on 13 different medications. I was an alcoholic. My wife was 9 months pregnant with our 5th child. Her only request to me was, could I not drink so much in case she went into labor so she didn't have to drive herself to the hospital.
Wow.
At that time, I was like, enough is enough. The current treatment system is not working, and that's because it was based on medication and psychotherapy, which did nothing to improve my quality of life, did nothing to improve my family's quality of life. And this story is not special to me. This is kind of the norm, right? And so I just said, hey, I refuse to accept that this is the new me, that I'm no longer going to be able to remember how to drive home, and I'm going to have all these other issues, and I'm going to lash out at my children and my family unwillingly. And so I said, we're going to fix it. We're going to find a solution. I don't know what it is, but we're going to scour the earth until we find something out there that's working other than these cascades of opiates, narcotics, anxiety, antidepressant, and psychotropic drugs that I was on. Ridiculous. So I was a zombie. And again, that's not special to me. So when I went out, was able to, I started looking at the scientific literature and tried to understand the brain better. So I had to become my best advocate, which is what I advise anybody to do if they're in a difficult situation, a health situation, they don't know why. You have to understand everything about the injury. And doing that, I was able to link up with a top neuroendocrinologist, specifically dealing with traumatic brain injury out in California, a guy by the name of Dr. Mark Gordon, fascinating, world-renowned doctor. He contacted me and said, hey, we've been helping veterans for a while. I think this will help you. Try it out. Let's see what happens. What do you have to lose? So we tried the treatment, which is there is a specific hormones produced in the brain called neurosteroids. All right, we didn't know about it until about 1986. A doctor out of France called Dr. I forget his name, but it's there.
Right.
And so what we found, man, if we can find out what somebody's deficient in these neurosteroids, these hormones that are produced in the brain, and then replenish it and bring it back up to its physiological level, meaning where it's supposed to be, there's going to be improvement. And I was like switched on like that. I mean, we treated me right with what I needed. I was deficient in a number of things. We brought it back up to the right levels. And a year later, I'm off 13 medications. I've been sober for 16 months, and I'm performing as good, if not better, than pre-injury status.
Wow.
Again, this isn't special to me. So we started the foundation because we wanted to do the same thing. We wanted to replicate that across the country for everybody else who's having a problem. 400,000 vets right now with traumatic brain injury diagnosed since 2001.
Right.
So we're like, this has to change again because medication, psychotherapy, that's what they're giving, and guys are killing themselves in record numbers, guys and gals. And that's why we started the foundation. We're gonna figure out a way to do this. We're not gonna wait for the government. We're not gonna wait for anybody else. We have a solution. We're just gonna put it together because if you have a big enough why, you can always figure out the how.
So let me ask you this, and you're listening to the Battlefield Live with Christian Trey on We Are America Radio. We're joined today by Andrew Marr, Special Forces Green Beret, and CEO and founder of Warrior Angels Foundation. Did you want to go ahead and ask something?
Yeah. All right. So I guess my biggest question is, in hearing your story, and we've heard stories from other people that have been overseas. There's two things that come to mind. I guess since you've come back, how much of your recovery has been more of a mental realignment rather than a chemical or a medicinal.
Physiological.
Yeah. So how much of that would you say? I mean, did you have when you came back? Did you have to redefine yourself or find yourself?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know
I
where
was
I'm going
no,
with
no,
that?
absolutely. And I was thinking kind of the same question, and I was going to have you take a step back because first thing you said was, I only had one instance where I was
Unconscious, yeah.
unconscious, right? And you almost said that as though that was groundbreaking, like that you were lucky there was only one.
Yeah.
So my initial thought was like, does that happen often?
Yeah.
Right. Second is like, the same question was, is it more of the programming that needs to be deprogrammed when you come back, or do you believe it's more of the injury?
Yeah, so you have to look at traumatic brain injury, then you have to look at post-traumatic stress. So you have imagine two circles, and one circle's TBI, the other one's PTS, and they have the symptoms that each one produce. There's overarching spheres of influence, right? So you have symptoms that are in both. So what's happening is people are being massively misdiagnosed as post-traumatic stress because you're having the overarching of symptoms, right? But what we found is if you treat them as if they had a physical injury, they improve, right? So by definition, post-traumatic stress is purely a behavioral issue, purely behavioral. So if there is trauma, there's any physical trauma anywhere in that person's timeline, it has to be something else than just post-traumatic stress. And here's where it didn't sit right with me, guys. I'd been doing that for a long time. Like, that's what I wanted to do. I joined up after 9/11 to go and kill Islamic terrorists.
Right.
No ifs, ands, and buts about it.
Right.
I would be doing it now if I could.
I just crapped on myself. I got to go change just finish this interview.
Yeah. So, I mean, man, I wanted to keep rocking. I wanted to do everything I could
Right.
because when you're on the teams, that is a very tight-knit thing, and people relied on me with their lives, and I took it seriously as you could.
Right.
And I didn't want to lose that. And so it didn't sit well with me when some doctor who couldn't tell the difference between a barrel and a buttstock, much less pointed at another human, tried to tell me that all of a sudden I had too much physically or too much mentally, and I couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I was like, I'm not buying it. So we're gonna figure it out.
You're not
find
just
another
going to
answer.
think your way out of this.
Yeah.
So, and I
Any more than you would think your way out of a knee replacement.
Right. And so, I mean, again, it's because of those alterations in your biochemistry, right? Your neurosteroids. Right. When you're deficient in that, you lose your ability to have correct cognition, executive functioning, executive decision making, your psychology, your physiology. It's all aligned. It all comes from there. So if that's not addressed, which is the underlying condition, if you don't address the underlying condition, you're just masking symptoms.
Right.
That's the problem with the medical system in general,
Right.
everywhere, because it's a system predicated on sickness and not wellness.
Right.
That's really good.
And so I guess in taking all this in, so you're overseas, and every single moment of your day is life and death, right? You're dealing at a completely different level than what most people are used to dealing with, especially here in the United States, which we actually probably, versus other countries,
Right.
are a lot less, a lot more relaxed in being able to just go down the street.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
if
yeah.
you're
more
if
comforts.
if you're operating at a level of life and death at all times, you have to be on your toes at all times, and you are excellent at what you do. I mean, you being in the special forces are at the epitome of what our military
Yeah, you're on the high
is.
end of that spectrum.
Right, you're
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the high end. You are the
of the
pinnacle
best.
of that
Elite,
triangle,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So in doing that all the time, and then you come into the real world, and we've seen this story play out, and I've never been in combat before, so I rely on things like stories and whether I read in a book or even some movies that we've watched,
Right.
is that you're dealing with having to come back to a place where you're not operating on that life and death all the time, but you're programming what you've been dealing with and what you've been reacting to is still, in a sense, working that way in the States. So,
And you're miles ahead, above
right.
the general people you're around all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is like, and we see this like, I'm trying to think what movie we were watching, and I hate to compare movies to real life, right? But they do have stories to tell of, people constantly looking around and still operating in that mode. And I just think it's fascinating at the same time as it's
so you have
traumatic.
two things.
You know?
You have the sympathetic nervous system and you have the parasympathetic nervous system, right? So the parasympathetic is like the gas. I mean, it's the brakes of the nervous system. So your ability to just chill out,
Right.
right? What we have with the operators specifically is guys that are just always in the sympathetic system, sympathetic load, and they're switched on, right?
Right.
So looking out of my corner of my visuals, who's around here? Where's the exits? You know, who's doing something suspicious, something like that. You're switched on all the time. Now, again, if you're not balanced correctly in the head with your neurochemistry, your neurosteroids, then you're not going to be able to make those decisions. Why? Because if you're deficient somewhere, let's say testosterone, the body can live without testosterone. It can't live without cortisol. So it's going to rob from testosterone, and it's going to do a bigger dump in cortisol. Cortisol is going to make you have a stress response, fight or flight, right?
Right.
So you have to understand these things and say, okay, well, I'm stuck in a sympathetic mode all the time.
Okay.
Why is it? Is it because of the lifestyle? Well, it plays into it, but the lifestyle plays into it to cause you to have these certain head traumas or whatever that causes the inconsistencies that causes that sympathetic to be switched on all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You said it much better than I could have said.
Do you think that this is something that's known, or this is something that obviously it needs to be known?
Here's what's frustrating is for like academic papers, you can go on Google Scholar, right? So scholarly articles. You can look at, okay, is there a correlation between being deficient in testosterone and depression? How many articles, published scientific articles, do you guys think are out there on that specific subject?
With you sitting here, I'm thinking probably hardly any.
80,000.
Really?
80,000.
Wow.
They're not reading the literature. Why? Because it's much better to have some dude on 13 medications for the rest of his life, because that makes a lot more money for somebody else.
That's right.
Right. And it goes back to also that, treating the symptoms rather than treating the cause of the symptoms.
Exactly.
Right? And that goes everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people are out there that are addicted to painkillers?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they're not actually going in. All right, you need to get this surgery. If you don't get this surgery, you're going to be on these painkillers. And people are like, well, I don't want to get the surgery because I heard all these nightmares. So we get stuck on pain pills. And
Andrew, how can people get involved? How can they find out more? How can they help your cause?
We just launched our new website, and it's www.waftbi.org. waftbi.org. We have just a plethora of good information out there. We're one of the cool kids on the social media. We're on all the hot links, so we're always dropping knowledge bombs on social media.
Awesome.
So you can get all our links there. And really, but seriously, we have tons of good information on there. Do your due diligence if you're out there. You want to know more. This is not just a problem that's specific to military. This is head trauma, period.
Right.
And there's an answer. We're bringing it to everybody.
Sounds great. Andrew Marr, thank you so much for your service, obviously, and thank you for joining us today. Special Forces Green Beret, CEO and founder of Warrior Angels Foundation. Appreciate the time spent with us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
very
Appreciate
much.
it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on the Battlefield Live, and we're at CPAC 2016.
Thank you, guys.
Man, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? I'm Chase.
Hey, Chase. Trey.
Nice to meet you guys. Chase, thank you for your service. Thank you all.
Chase, that's you, huh?
Yeah, it's me, man. I was down there stuck doing some questions for the government or something. What do
Man,
y'all think?
it's amazing, man.
I've been on
80,000
and y'all, and
articles.
I still have a hard time explaining it to people. A lot of people are like,
Okay, we gotta get the beer.
here's your makeup. You are this type of person. We're going to treat you this way. Nobody else will have that same treatment. That's how medicine should
That's
be.
how it's supposed to be done.
Who are they going to?
Right.
Brainwashed.
There's a whole new enemy. That's great, man.
Operate feels so good.
Man, God bless y'all, man.
Y'all check it out, man. I mean,
Appreciate it.
civilians, anybody.
No doubt.
The brain to be working when it's supposed to.
No doubt.
Nice to meet you.
Right, you ready to go back on? Not yet? No, grab that right there. Yep, that right there.
If I leave this behind here, it'll be
Yeah,
safe,
we
right?
should
Okay.
be home.
All right, thanks.
We'll be here till at least 2.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if they're listening to War right now, Chris, they're hearing music. Because I logged off. So look, as I'm saying in the commercials, let me just log on and off, and we're ready to go. We'll tell them goodbye and then log back on. So let's get back on. Don't worry about your music. We'll do it all in post-production. You're recording. Just let it roll. Let me log back in. Welcome back to the Battlefield Live radio program at CPAC 2016 with Chris and Trey on We Are America Radio, Red State Talk Radio, Buzz Radio Network, and wow. Right, bro? I mean,
Look, all I got to say is when you see a badass dude, I mean, that dude's badass, huh?
listen, I wasn't joking. Like, that dude looked at me and said, I joined up to kill terrorists.
Yeah.
And, like, there was some kind of physiological, like, my sphincter relaxed. Listen, bro, I'm telling you. Man, look, both of those guys that we just met, those Special Forces guys, absolutely unbelievable.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, when I'm sitting across from a guy like that, I mean, it's like, there's no story I can tell.
No, dude.
You know?
Let him talk.
Yeah. It's like, I didn't even know how to compare what I've been through or trying to I mean, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make some kind of sense
Right.
for people that have never experienced that.
Right.
And of course, you know, you want to let them talk, but you also try to make, look, he started talking about all the physiological stuff. I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, I was following him on that because he explained it really well, and the idea, and I think he shared this off air. The fact that there's over 80,000 articles written about the brain chemistry that he was talking about.
Right.
His co-founder was talking to us afterwards. He's the community relations guy for the organization. He said within 2 weeks he was back to running 25 miles a week. His relationship was better with his wife. I mean, that's the thing. You want these guys to be, when they come back, you don't want them addicted, alcoholic, having bad. I mean, you want these guys to succeed when they come back home,
Right.
Because they've been successful on the battlefield.
So I think what's amazing to me is just thinking about it in the way that I was trying to explain it to him, and I didn't know the best way to explain it to not dishonor the position that these guys actually were in overseas. But
Yeah, it's like the ultimate respect.
well, you're operating at such a level that, I mean, you're coming back and you're having to. I mean, look, us as men, we're driven to support. We're driven to
Right.
succeed. That is
Right.
our nature.
Right.
That we can't deny that. And when you're overseas and you're operating at that level, and then you come back and you're not operating at the same level, it's demoralizing.
Yeah, that's got to be really tough. And I mean, these, like you said, and I knew exactly where you were going. These guys are at the top of the top. I mean,
Right.
they are the elite of the elite, physically, mentally. I mean, to be
And
able
they
to
have to be.
handle, they have to be, absolutely, necessarily, right?
Right.
And you come back around some dopes like us, and they're
So
like,
goofballs behind.
yeah, you know, on a program called The Battlefield. I was like,
Well, what was
No offense.
what was interesting? I'm standing over. I'm walking in and out of our area, and he was doing an interview down the Radio Row, and he was doing the interview, and every time I moved, he would look at me. I'm like, I knew instantly because you
Yeah.
could tell the guy. He looked like he was real fit. You know, he's got the tattoos and the
Got the full
the big
Afghan
beard. Yeah.
You know.
So I'm standing here, and I'm like, He's looking at me, and if he's making sure that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, he's got
right?
like the perfect ratios of like twice as big shoulders to waist.
I mean, it's an American. He's an American machine.
Yeah, man.
And what's one of the things that we have to keep into perspective, and there's nothing that we can really do in talking about this to do the right thing. I mean, we share in a word, right? But the bottom line is people like that, they are the reason that we can do what Trey and I are doing right now.
No doubt. No doubt.
So without people like him, we wouldn't be able to have the freedom that we have. And we got to do whatever we can do to support people like that so we can continue to do this. We can continue to be free. And so God bless our troops. God bless the people that serve this country in all aspects, you know.
Yeah.
So
it was amazing this morning. You know, before Andrew jumped on the show, we were talking about Levin, and we were talking of. Let's see if you can bring it up. There we go. We were talking about Levin, and these are people that they experienced Reagan. They brought up something during their speeches where they were like, if you're 45 years old or younger,
right,
you probably have not had an opportunity to vote for a conservative, a principled conservative in your lifetime. Now think about that, Chris. You and I, obviously under 45,
right.
We now have a chance to vote for a principled conservative
For the first time.
and years.
Right.
And he said, go ahead and try to elect another one. Huh?
Yeah, just give us one more shot.
And
We've been
you have-
going in the wrong road for so doggone long. You figured we could actually do something to change it.
And you bring up any issue right now. You bring up any of the issues of this election, and you say, how will candidate A, how will he respond in this? And yes, you don't know for sure until they face
Right.
with the situation.
Right.
But you also have people in the race like Donald Trump who you say, I don't know. I don't know how he would react because I don't know his principles.
That's right.
But we've got a guy who we know his principles, and we at least know that he's got a guide.
Right.
That's more confidence that the right thing is going to be done than to toss your hands up in the air and just kind of roll the dice and hope you don't crap out.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is that, when you look at people like Ted Cruz, okay?
Right.
He's not doing bad in the polls.
No.
He's doing excellent in the polls. In fact, because people always point back to this, well, Trump's the only person that can win. We heard that with Romney.
Right.
We heard that with McCain.
Right.
It was the same thing with Dole.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the numbers, he can beat. He's actually the only one on stage that can beat Hillary Clinton.
If you think about what Ted Cruz has done, he's the only guy left who has 5 times beaten Donald Trump.
Right.
5 times.
Absolutely.
Right? And I'm not trying to parrot one of his lines, but I'm just trying to get you to understand that he's the guy who has the alternative path. If he is not stopped, if Donald Trump is not stopped, he will get elected. He will get the nomination.
Right.
And the GOP will irreparably, it will do damage to the conservative movement if conservatives elect or nominate a less than conservative for president of the United States.
And I always wonder what it is, the people that I would say are constitutional conservatives that are supporting Trump. And it all goes back to an apologist mindset for conservatism. That's one of the things Levin was saying inside of the conference earlier.
Yeah, you got common sense conservatives
Yeah.
and compassionate conservatives and Christian conservatives. And wait a minute. Conservatism already is all of that.
Right.
You're making an excuse
Right.
by saying all of those things.
Right.
By trying to say, hey, we're compassionate conservatives. well, you're excusing somehow or another some uncompassionate side of things. Conservatism is already all those things.
When you have a government that is going to protect your rights, a government that's going to embolden property rights for individuals that work very hard, that is compassion.
That's absolutely correct.
That is compassion. So the idea that you take somebody's property and give it to somebody else is not compassion.
Right. It's compassionate for the government to let you keep more of whatever your labor merits you.
Right.
So that you can give to people you deem needy or necessary to need help.
Look, when I first started getting involved politically, all right, being an activist, one of the most profound conversations that I had with one of my liberal friends who was an artist, we were talking about, the distribution of wealth because she was really in favor of Barack Obama. And we were talking about compassion and this and that. She goes, well, how is it compassion? He started talking, all the typical talking points with large corporations and so forth. And right after, we had this conversation, I forgot exactly who it was, but there was a friend of ours that I knew who it was. It was my cousin. He was taking care of this girl that was sexually abused and raped and beaten by her husband.
Right.
And she was down and out, and she was trying to get her life back together.
He had her on the property. He had her in the guest house.
Yes.
I remember that, yeah.
And my cousin was, taking care of her, and we were trying to raise a little bit of money, for her.
Right.
And I called my liberal friend. I thought this would be a perfect person to give her money. You know what she said? She needs to go to the government because I already give her money through my taxes. And I'm thinking, how is that compassion?
Well, that's the mind of a liberal.
Yeah.
The job for compassion is the government. They already take. That's why I pay taxes, so that somebody else can be compassionate, and I don't have to. I can be a selfish ass.
It was a totally soulless response, and I was just totally flawed. After that conversation, I couldn't be friends with her anymore. It wasn't a political thing.
No,
it was just like
it was a lack of humanity.
Yeah.
Thing. And a fundamental misunderstanding of what's important and what's necessary to be ye kind one to another.
Right.
It's a simple humanity issue.
So here's another point that and I'm just kind of bringing back some thoughts about that conversation I had with her, and she was basically talking about the racist this and that and racist this and that, and she was talking about how capitalism sucks and all that. I was like, do you realize that the system that you support creates classes of people and supports racism?
Right.
And she was like, well, that's not true. I said, well, it is absolutely true. Affirmative action is a racist system.
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And I said, a free enterprise system is the epitome of eliminating racism. I said, I forgot her name purposely. But anyway, so I said, when I go to the store and I walk down the bread aisle and I go to buy my favorite bread, which happens to be bunny bread.
I was about to say.
It goes great with peanut butter and jelly.
All of you Wonder Bread fans, don't write us and email us and tell us that we don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, take that Wonder Bread somewhere else. Anyway,
get out of here with
it
that.
reminds me of Wonder Boy, and you just never know about Wonder Boy.
And look, it's really hard to get out of here right now, so can we please not talk about food?
Yes, because I'm very hungry.
I mean, it would take us like 2 hours to just get back in here.
I'm hangry. So the point was going down the bread aisle, right? And I'm looking at all the bread, and I started thinking, I always do this from time to time. I try to make myself think like a liberal, and up to the point of insanity, I
was going to say, why? It's like self-torture, like self-mutilation.
It is. It's self-waterboarding.
Okay.
So I'm looking at all the bread, and I'm like, all right, so what's the difference between that bread and that bread, other than the fact that it tastes different, look, it is a different brand? I was like, I don't have any idea who put the bread in that bag, who made that bag. Look, that company could have nothing but black people that put that bread in that bag and make that bread, and Hispanics that make this. But it doesn't matter because I'm buying a loaf of bread that I enjoy. I like
buying some doughy yumminess.
Yes, and I could give a crap who put the bread in that bag.
What color you are, what you look like.
Right. So the system that we have here in the United States that's slowly being stolen from us by people in power is a system that embraces equality more than any other system that's ever been created on Earth.
Well, the only thing I'm concerned about in your analogy just now that may need some psychoanalysis is the fact that you were buying white bread, and I didn't hear you going out there and buying any dark pump
Dude, I love pumpernickel.
or some kind of dark German wheat or something. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, there still may be some racist agenda behind your bread selection.
Hey, let me tell you, dieting brings equality because I have to.
Dieting brings equality.
Yes, because
explain this one.
because I have to eat pumpernickel bread, which is dark bread. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's like redistribution of wealth. Is this guy
Yeah.
intentionally looking pale? Like, is he supposed to be a beaten down America?
No, I don't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay. So we have a couple of folks that are walking by with American flags, like clothing.
He is completely enthralled with, and then you've got like the American ZZ Top guy.
I like that. I like that outfit. He's got like the he looks like a biker with like an American flag jacket.
Don't you think there's a certain way to wear the American flag?
What you mean?
You know, like certain ways. I think wearing patriotic colors and everything looks nice, but it's got to be done correctly. Like you can't be wearing like Captain Dave Osborne, like Super Dave outfits to
Hey,
Z-Pack.
look, when I used to play tennis back in the day, yes, I actually did play tennis.
I wasn't going to go there.
You were gonna go there?
Wasn't-
Hey, dude, I can still play tennis in this level right here.
I will kill you in
Now,
some
I can
tennis.
only play tennis for maybe 5 minutes because
You
then
and
I'll
I
pass
should
out and die.
play more tennis.
We should.
I'm serious. We should.
Do you have
probably
any
do that.
paramedic friends?
We have cell phones and 911.
No, that doesn't work in this day and age.
Oh.
When you die on the tennis court, it don't take long,
We
and there
really-
ain't no
we
mouth
really
to
should,
mouth
dude.
coming
I
from
bet
over
you
here.
that would be. I kill you. I got a great first serve.
We would definitely have to get somebody to film it. You can play tennis,
Absolutely. Dude.
Really?
I love tennis. My
Oh.
wife does it, but I love it.
dude. We need to do that.
My parents grew up playing tennis, and so I would always hang out at the country club, and I'd be on the hitting balls against the wall, the practice wall, just bang, 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 bang.
You would think that'd be a Sasquatch sighting if you saw me playing tennis.
No, it'd be like, you remember Fantasia when the hippos came out and did the ballet?
Yeah, exactly what it
That's you and I playing tennis.
Oh, folks. Well, look, we're going to take a real quick break, folks, and try to figure out a little bit of our sound quality issues so we don't blast you all with endless sound loops. So stick with us after this short pause. We're getting into a little bit of Donald Trump's nonsense from last night's debate. So stick with us through the break. We'll be right back.
Cool. When you hit the break, I logged off, and the music came on. Now it's not good for Spreaker, right? You heard that loop? Yeah. What was it? Everything else sounds great. I'm listening to us on the white headphones. And then
Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States
coming after
and its
us?
once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay
There it is,
for
I hear
over
it.
60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous
ready.
and free nation in the world
We go to
into
our
a
next
typical
commercial.
third world
We go to our
country.
own commercial.
Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become
you
appendages
can come back right now.
a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine
Remember, I can't
that
hear you. I
progresses
got
our
the
civil
noise-canceling
society to
headphones.
chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism from
People are gonna be
Amazon.com
tuned in.
and
Let's
Lulu.com
get back on the
today.
air. You ready?
11 or a Dunkin' Donuts.
Field.buzz to get showtimes, the latest audio and video podcast, links to our affiliates and social media sites, and latest announcements from the Battlefield Live radio program. We are here to fix the machine.
We're here to fix the machine.
Thank you for joining us on the battlefield. You're listening to Chris and Trey from We Are America Radio, Red State Talk Radio, Buzz Radio Network. And we're having a blast down here, or I should say up here. We're from Louisiana, so it's up here.
Yeah,
right?
it's way up here.
Yeah.
Woke up this morning, walked outside, thought we'd entered a winter wonderland.
Dude, you were kind of grumpy this morning.
I wouldn't call it necessarily grumpy.
No?
Because think about it, I just was quiet.
Yeah, you're
mornings. There's no reason to talk. I talk the rest of my day until the point where I go to bed at night.
I was waiting to get it.
What do you say? Why don't we? Right?
I'm up. Doesn't go off. Usually I get up anyway.
I need the alarm to go off, and then 3 snoozes with it.
Yeah.
Then I need to take a shower. I need a good hour to myself.
Let me ask you this. This is always fascinating me because I have a guy that I work with that's like this, and he's always late to work. He's a brilliant guy, right?
I'm always late.
So do you have like a time that you have to be at work, and when you get there, if you're late, then you have to like answer for it? Or people just kind of like, yeah, that's all right. It's Trey. He comes in late.
Yeah, no, it's just pretty much the latter.
It's just like, all right, he's dude. I'm up, and if the alarm does, you know.
Cubby.
Right. And that's how this guy I work with is like, he's like that. He actually.
So I'm going to put in my hour. I'm going to give you my 8. You're going to get my 8 hours.
Right.
You just might get them between like 11 and 9.
Right.
Instead of 9 to 5.
I just have always found that fascinating that people operate completely different. Like my wife, she could sleep till 10:30, 11 o'clock on Saturday. At 7:30, if I'm not out of bed and I open my eyes and it's like 8 o'clock, I feel guilty.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, listen, I don't even need an alarm clock. Like,
right.
Even if it's like 3, 4, 5 hours of sleep, I'll wake up. But it doesn't mean I'm necessarily getting up.
Right. So there's this really interesting. I was actually flipping through on Facebook here at CPAC, and here's an article from Mediaite. It says Trump, the military would not refuse my orders even if they consider them illegal.
Right. They talked about that last night in the debate.
Okay, so this is the first time I'm hearing of this.
Yeah.
And
because they called him out on it. They're like, no, they're not just going to do what you tell them to do.
Right.
I mean, again, this is not some kind of dictatorial coup d'etat that we're talking about here.
So I guess this is where, all right, so you have a commander-in-chief.
Right.
He's a commander. He tells you what to do.
Yeah.
Right? But if you tell someone to do something that's not humane or something like that, where does your allegiance stop? Like, at what point? I mean, this maybe something we should ask our military friend.
That would have been a good thing.
Isn't that an interesting kind of?
Well, but even more than that, though. I mean, in order for him to become, listen, he's not always the commander-in-chief of the military.
Right.
He's the commander-in-chief of the military when there's a military action being, like, when it's underway.
Right.
So the fact that he's not, Congress has got to declare war.
Right.
There's got to be some sort of military. Now, people will say that because of continuing resolutions, and I forget what those other, the way we've defined the war on terror,
right?
We are always in a perpetual state of military action, so that the president walks in day one and commander in chief over the military because the military is doing something somewhere around the world,
right?
But they're not going to. You're not going to call up a general and say, "Hey, bomb the right."
So
in the same, I don't that's saying, "Ooh, I'm the roughest, toughest hombre." I mean, I don't want a damn cartoon running the military.
Right.
I want a guy who thinks about how this affects the Constitution, how it affects the rest of the people. I want this how it affects the world.
I just think that one of the problems that we have in the nation right now, and it's been going on for a while, is that we don't actually have people that look at the presidency as something outside of, I hate to say it, but like a reality TV show.
That's exactly what it's become, Chris. And not because of Trump.
Right.
It's because we, the people, have become more concerned with the man who sits in the White House than we are about how the House of Representatives handles our money.
So this is one of the things that I struggle with personally. Maybe any of you conservatives out there have experienced this before. I'm a pretty dedicated, passionate conservative.
Right.
Most of my life is spent trying to become educated, so that way I can become a more conservative, more a better outlet for what we believe in. Right.
Right.
So there's a lot of times, like when at 9 o'clock at night, I'm finished the radio show, and I'm just kind of getting things together, and I go out into the living room, and my wife's there on the counter. I mean, on the did I just say that on the counter?
I think you did say that out loud. If you weren't meaning to,
I miss my wife.
Okay.
So she's on the sofa watching whatever she's watching on television.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, something crazy. Actually, some things that I actually enjoy watching. Right. So I'm sitting there, kind of thinking, all right, I got to spend some time with my wife, and she always gives me the pass to go do whatever I want to do. She doesn't give me a hard time about watching whatever we're going to watch or whatever like that. She always says, hey, if you want to go do that, that's
Your
fine.
wife is very good to you, like
yes.
that.
So the thing that I struggle with the most is
the fiber she gives you.
No, I don't struggle at all. Trust me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So right. So the thing I struggle with the most is that I always feel like that every effort that I put forward, there has to be a purpose to it. Like
yeah,
if there's something that I'm doing that's just more really entertaining or just something, I don't feel like I'm serving my purpose.
No,
right?
I get that.
So that also makes me probably appear to be somewhat, I don't know, self-righteous maybe?
What, that you do things and expect some sort of return from it?
Personally, I feel guilty sometimes because I'm always trying to do
that you're looking for
something that's
return for the effort you're putting out. Watch your feet, by the way. You're moving your whole thing.
No, I just feel like if somebody asks me to go do something and I don't want to participate in something that's not serving a greater purpose.
Oh,
you understand
okay.
what I'm saying?
I thought you were talking about just like in general, like in your relationship with your wife.
Well, I think she understands that more than my other friends.
Listen, I think there's a balance there because, listen, I know how much of a fan you are about going to LSU football games, and
yeah,
there's no purpose to that.
Well, the thing
I
is,
like watching NBA basketball.
But all right, so if I have a choice of going to an LSU football game,
if you got a choice of going to see LSU, Alabama,
if Mark Levin's in town or there's a convention in town that I want to go to, I'm going to go do that.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
So the caveat to your statement then is, if there's nothing that is purposeful,
yes,
you'll go do something that just kind of lets you unwind a little bit.
Yeah, and look, I feel guilty because I think that that hurts my wife's life, because she's not driven like me in that respect, in that world.
Okay, now take how you feel. Take how you just take
Right.
that same exact feeling.
Right.
Now add to it. Imagine you are an ordained minister working at a ministry.
Right.
That is in 100+ countries around the world.
Right.
Right. So like this little fun thing we do with politics and stuff.
Right.
Is like that's second to my primary role as like job and calling.
Right. Here comes George Washington.
Hey, we knew we said it'd be a matter of time before he'd walk out here somewhere.
Well, I saw him earlier. He's actually very intellectual. I was listening to him
I saw
talk.
we saw
it's
the
pretty
interview.
cool. This guy dressed in what is a T-corn hat and like the whole
tri-corner
hat, whatever they call him.
I'm not sure what T-corn is.
Yeah, whatever.
T-corn. I think that was I think he's like an R&B singer.
You know what I was thinking about?
T-corn.
You know what I was thinking about? The little corn things at Halloween.
Oh, right.
What do they call them?
Candy corn.
Candy corn.
Yeah, I can't stand those things.
What?
My wife and daughter eat those things like Brett Favre eats muscle relaxers.
Does he still eat muscle relaxers?
I don't know. I think I saw an interview with Brett Favre the other day. Brett Favre looked bowed up. I think he might be on some Stallone juice.
Come on, dude. He's not fat like us, huh?
No. He's the opposite of whatever the opposite of fat is, which I haven't seen in a while. He is that.
Look, all I know is my wife used to be a huge Brett Favre fan, and so he started.
Oh, I'm
putting pictures of
glad
his
you
junk
finished
all
that
over.
sentence because you're like, my wife used to be huge. Like you just lost all your points.
Yeah, I don't have any points left.
Hey, let me ask you this, Chris. Former Democrat candidate, what's his first name? Webb. What's the guy's name? Remember the debate where it looked like his neck was going to explode? His head.
Yeah, he didn't
Jim
have a
Webb.
neck.
Jim Webb.
Jim Webb. Okay.
Jim Webb's now coming out saying that if you vote for Trump, now mind you, this is former Democratic presidential candidate.
Right.
If you vote for Trump, you might get something really good, or you might get something really bad.
Well, that sounds a pretty stupid statement.
You don't know. But if you vote for Hillary, you're just going to get more of the same. So he's saying he may not vote for Hillary Clinton, and he could see himself voting for Donald Trump. Does that help or hurt the case for Trump?
I just think that, we always hear about this crossover vote. Okay? All right,
And
so
like the importance of it?
Why are people crossing over?
Why are they trans-political?
Yes, why are they trans-political? Why are they demo-Republicans? Because that's
Why are they
it's
Republicrats?
It's demolition of Republicans.
Well, I mean, I think we've well documented the fact of what it is. It's the idea that Trevor Loudon said yesterday. Remember Oh, no, you weren't. Oh, man, I forgot.
Don't do that to me, dude.
You weren't
Don't
here
do
for
that.
that. Sorry.
Dude,
I didn't mean
I
to.
think he
That
thinks-
wasn't intentional.
I think Trevor thinks I'm stalking him because every time I see him when I'm walking by, I shake his hand. He's probably thinking, this dude's going to
salivate.
Yeah, he's going to kiss me.
Wearing a bib. No, Trevor said communists have always said that today's left will be tomorrow's center.
Yeah, because it's the Overton window.
So that's the trans-political nature of today's politics.
That's right. So if you're not familiar with the Overton window, it's the level of acceptability on the right and the left. There's this window that actually moves further and further to the left as socialism, progressive socialism, comes into the country.
Right.
So to me, when I see that there's all this crossover, quote-unquote crossover votes, it's because he's building a big tent of moderates that are not conservative. He's not going to put forward a conservative agenda, So anyway, we got to actually go take a break, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, no, let's go ahead and go to
So we're going to actually take a real quick break here, and when we come back at the top of the hour, we're going to go into an interview with who we're going to talk to, Trey?
This is, I'm really excited about this. We were talking a little bit about the Democratic nomination, and of course, right now, Hillary being the apparent Democratic nominee. It looks like Bernie's got a real outside chance. But coming up right after the break, we're going to talk to a former U.S. attorney, Matthew Whitaker. He's an ethics watchdog head for the Foundation of Accountability and Civic Trust. He's calling for a special prosecutor to investigate Hillary Clinton.
Wow. This ought to be interesting.
Absolutely. So we'll be with him when we come back after the break. So I'll throw it to you now, Chris.
All right, stick with us. We'll be right back after this short pause. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at LanternsBuzz. We'll be back after this break.
Chris, we're going to take it away, and we're going to jump into the south side of Chicago. Now, Chris, if you've been keeping up with our south side of Chicago, you know that it is not a safe place. But, dude, you got to give it up to the ladies. Chris, they are launching sex strikes to end violence.
So sex strike, is that why you're saying I should give it up to the ladies?
No, but that's very clever of you,
okay.
nonetheless.
I'm just saying.
So this comes out of
All this
Fox
talk about
Channel
Woodrow
5.
Wilson and the Byzantine Empire gets me all worked up. I'm just saying.
So the women of Southside Chicago, they basically have had enough. They're going to say, fellas, stop gangbanging.
Wait a second. What kind of gangbanging are you talking about?
I thought I was correcting
You
myself.
did a double entendre there and you didn't even know it.
The difference between banging and gangbanging.
Flashbang.
Yeah.
Go to radio.battlefield.buzz to get showtimes, the latest audio and video podcasts, links to our affiliates and social media sites, and latest announcements from the Battlefield Live radio program. We are here to fix the machine.
Doug, I never thought I could go back to school, but when it's this easy, it fits. I'm right there with you, Jackie, taking classes, watching lectures in the living room on the iPad. It's not hard.
I can be a mom, make dinner, get my classwork done, and not miss a moment with my family. It's amazing.
Yes, it is.
Hey, it's Jackie Velasquez, and if Doug and I can do this, you can do this too. Higher education with Liberty University Online.
Find out more about completing your college degree at the world's largest Christian university, Liberty University. Get all the details right now. Grab your cell and dial pound 250. When prompted, say the keyword Liberty University.
Training champions for Christ since 1971, Liberty University Online. Find out more about learning online. Dial pound 250, then say the keyword Liberty University.
Liberty University Online with hundreds of degree programs to choose from. Call now, pound 250. Say the keyword Liberty University.
That's pound 250. Say keyword Liberty University.
Will you today, as is your normal tradition of doing radio, will you leave the radio program today ravaged and hungry and go get a foot-long sandwich from Subway?
A $5 footlong?
A $5 footlong.
I'm sure Jared's going to be looking forward to that when he goes to jail.
Wow.
I mean, come on, dude. I mean, that dude's a piece of crap, huh?
I really didn't see that coming. And I guess in jail, neither will he.
Yeah, he won't. I mean, we should just stop this right now.
What? Yeah, that's what he's going to say. What?
Go to radio.battlefield.buzz to get showtimes, the latest audio and video podcasts, links to our affiliates and social media sites, and latest announcements from the Battlefield Live radio program. We are here to fix the machine.
We're here to fix the machine.
You're listening to the Battlefield Live with Chris and Trey from We Are America Radio, Red State Talk Radio, Buzz Radio Network. Want to thank you for joining us today at CPAC 2016, and we've been having a blast. And so, Trey, we'll jump right in. What do we have?
We are joined right now by Matthew Whitaker. He's a former U.S. attorney from Iowa and executive director of the Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust, or FACT. FACT. It's kind of a good acronym. Founded in 2014, the Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting accountability, ethics, and transparency in government and civic arenas. So, Matthew, welcome to the program. Well, we're looking at former Secretary Hillary Clinton, and during her time as Secretary of State, overwhelming evidence now shows, and primarily through the State Department's release of her emails, that she abused her official position. Now, since becoming a presidential candidate, she's on numerous occasions violated campaign and ethics laws, and this organization, your organization, FACT, has been on the forefront of addressing Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign violations and email scandal, and recently called for a